YouTube viewers, we are on the Right Now podcast today, episode 16 with Andrew Miller. Andrew,
how's it going?
You doing good today?
Yes, sir.
All right, here's a question for you, just for our YouTube viewers. Special question just for them.
All right.
If you could be any superhero right now, what superhero would you be and why?
That one's easy. It's the Flash.
The Flash.
Super speed is probably one of the coolest powers you can have, just to be able to be in one place and then be in another place in a matter of seconds. So that was an easy choice.
All right, you've heard it here on the Right Now episode 16. Check this episode out. You don't want to miss it. Everyone, and welcome to the Right Now podcast, a student ministry podcast here at Ridgecrest Baptist Church. This is episode 16 with our special guest, Andrew Miller.
How's it going?
Andrew, rate your day today, 1 to 10.
Probably about 7.5.
7.5, but I know now that you're on the podcast, going all the way to a 10.
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, here's a question that many people probably want to know. Who really is the best Miller? I got him. How do you answer that?
It's Christian.
Christian?
It's Christian.
Why are you saying Christian?
Youngest
one, he gets by with all the stuff.
Exactly. He probably gets away with the most, but at the same time, Caleb gets away with about the same. So
where are you in that? You don't get away with anything?
Not much, no. I have a tight grip.
Tight grip. Well, Andrew, we're excited to talk today on the podcast about what God's doing in your life. And we say this on the Right Now podcast. We call it Right Now because Ephesians 5 tells us to be wise and not live as those that are unwise, to make a difference in our world. And that's living in the moment. And we want to make sure, yes, we understand that we have a kingdom perspective. We're looking to heaven, but right now is an opportunity to bring heaven to earth. And so today on the podcast, what we do is talk about 3 main questions. But before we do that, and we've been joking about this question already, a surprise question that's really no surprise to you if you've listened to the podcast. But right now, if you could spend time with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be? And we take Jesus off the table.
So I'd probably have to go with my great uncle Donnie.
I
never got to meet him, but he was in the military, so that speaks for itself. He was never allowed to tell anybody where he was going, so secretive.
That type of, okay, yeah.
So the stories that he could tell, I bet, were tremendous.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really know much about him because of just he had a secretive
Nobody
life.
could tell, yeah.
But it's definitely someone I would want to meet.
All right, so is this your uncle on which side of the family?
Yeah, so he's my mom's uncle,
Okay.
My great uncle, my grandmother's brother.
Now, where was his home base? I know you don't know.
I
where.
think it was the Philippines.
Okay.
I think.
All right. I think there's so many people that would be interesting to talk to that are of our like extended family, like from a few generations ago, to really understand, okay, how did my grandparents get to where they are?
Mm-hmm.
How did all that happen? It's very interesting when you think about kind of the family lineage there of all those dynamics. And so, but the secret, I always think is interesting. I wish there's questions of certain people that are specifically in the military that I always wish I could ask, but you feel bad about or wrong about asking because they're like, I'll have to kill you. So I definitely don't want that.
I think he would have. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is most of them could, and we get away with it.
Yeah.
So. All right, first main question. All right, you ready for this, Andrew? What is God teaching you right now?
So I think one of the big things, and it goes right along with the podcast, but just teaching me to live in the moment. One thing I struggle with is overthinking and anxiety and things like that. So when I'm in daily life, I try to like slow down and just enjoy the moments that are happening in the present. To miss not to miss the little things, because I think it's the most simplest things that make the biggest deals.
Yeah, that's really cool. What has it been, Andrew, would you say, that has gotten you to that place where it's like, okay, I need to just chill and I need to live in the moment?
One of the biggest things is probably thinking about college.
Okay.
It's always a struggle to know, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right choices? Is this something I want to do with the rest of my life?
Right.
And I just got to stop and think, I'm still a junior.
Yeah.
I still have time and I need to think about those things, but I need to think about right now as well.
Yeah. What is, when you think of just decision making, What is something that can help you be peaceful in your decision making versus kind of getting stressed a little bit about it?
I think talking to other people is a
That's
big
cool.
way.
Yeah.
Talking to your peers, your friends, people who can guide you and who have been there
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. That's really neat because I think a lot of times we get worked up about the future compared to just focusing on the moment, but having people around you, I love that what you said about talking to your friends, kind of helps us bring us to a place where we can just kind of chill a little bit. I mean, Auburn and I have a lot of conversations about different things, and Broxton as well, as these guys are in the room with us, and they help me kind of understand it's not that big of a deal. Take a deep breath. They make fun of me and say I breathe like Darth Vader. So take a Darth Vader breath, and you'll be able to just kind of chill and have those friends to help you with that. So love that answer for question one. It's so neat to hear what God's teaching you right now. Second question on the podcast. How can God, let's go there. How can God use your generation to impact the world right now?
I think one of the biggest things our generation struggles with right now is getting out of their comfort zones.
Okay. Yeah.
Because as a kid who's grown up in church my whole life, I go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, and it just, you get stuck into emotion and then you start to settle. And in the Bible, it tells us not to settle because God wants so much more for us.
That's cool.
So if we could get out of our comfort zones more, I feel we could reach out to people better and just be more not in the world, but reach the world better.
Yeah, so getting out of your comfort zone, share for just a minute in your opinion or what you've seen. What does that look like practically?
Well, in a practical situation, I feel like if you're in a church setting or even you're out in public and you see someone who's not necessarily someone who's appreciated and they're just sitting by themselves, I feel if you go and you talk to them and you just show them just a little kindness, that just goes a long way.
Yeah, so like just taking the step to engage with people.
Exactly.
And I think one of the things when you talk about getting in a rut and being comfortable, we're comfortable in our groups. And you see that a lot in
Hmm.
student ministry world. I mean, every Wednesday night or on a Sunday or on a trip or whatever, you hang with your group. And I think that's good. We just talked about having those friends, but the danger comes when your group is the only group you see. Is that how you'd say that?
Yeah, definitely.
So as you think about that and you have your friends that are listening to the podcast or watching it today, you talked about just going and talking to somebody. What is something, how do you have that first conversation? Because I think that's the hardest step. Stepping out and talking to somebody, how do you begin a conversation with somebody? What would you say to somebody?
I think first you have to introduce yourself, let them know who you are
Yeah.
and just have a real conversation with them. Talk about what they like, what you like,
Yeah.
things that might make them feel better about the situations they're in. I think those kind of things can help people not only want to come back, but want to be around you more.
What I love about what you just said, Andrew, was it all began with them. I think sometimes we struggle in the church talking first about us. We want everybody to know how we're doing and what's going on in our life. But what you said just then about engaging people, is it began with the person that you're seeking to engage. And so that's a great way for your generation, my generation, all of us to be used by God right now, is to engage the culture and begin with that taking place in such a way where it's about them so they feel loved and cared for. Last question on the podcast today, and I do have to throw this out there, about you wearing your Auburn shirt today. We said this before. We don't know if that was allowed on here. We'll have to get a little dress code on there. But are you a fan of y'all's new coach, football coach?
I don't follow football as much, more of a basketball guy
Okay,
because
all
I
right.
don't really understand football that much.
All right. So,
But
well, there's a thing called touchdowns and field goal. You
I
got that
understand
right.
the
Okay. All
general
right.
concept.
So, are you a Bruce Pearl fan then?
Yes,
100%.
yes.
Yeah. Like your season this year?
Yeah, it started off rough, being that Sharif Cooper couldn't start with us,
Right.
but
He's playing now, though. Isn't
he is playing now.
he? Yeah. We were watching the Alabama Auburn game the other day, and Collins was like, that guy with Cooper, last name, he's like really, really good.
Yes,
But I will say, I think Alabama won that game.
I think they did.
Last question, Andrew. What is a current event that is of great interest to you right now?
So I think it was about 2 weeks ago. It marked the anniversary of Kobe Bryant dying.
Yeah.
And one thing that got me thinking about was his legacy and the stuff that he left behind for other athletes and other people. Just work hard, and that Mamba mentality. And it got me thinking about the legacy that we are supposed to leave behind as Christians and as people. It got me thinking that maybe our legacy is more important than we think it is.
Wow, that's a good
Other
thought.
people might not see it as that huge, but a legacy speaks volumes, especially for people who aren't as noticeable.
Right. And I think sometimes the confusion with legacy is we think that people that only have a platform truly leave a legacy. But in reality, the people that don't have a platform have an opportunity to leave just as much of a legacy as anyone.
Hmm.
I think about, we mentioned earlier, your uncle, your great uncle, and family and grandparents. I think about the people that have made the most impact in my life that have really left a legacy are those people, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mom and dad, those kind of legacies that they live. And one of the things that we've taught about here for years at Ridgecrest, Matthew 5:16, to let your light shine before men so they see your good deeds and glorify our Father in heaven. It's a legacy of who Jesus is and what God is doing and what he's done in our life. That's the legacy that we have to live. I've been very interested in Kobe's life as well, and I was reading some of his biography the other day, and it just talked about just his work. He talked about just the way he put in hard work. First person in the gym, last
Hmm.
person that left the gym, the way he cared for people, the way he made his team better, those kind of things. It truly is a great testimony and legacy for us to think about in the church today. So, Andrew Miller, this has been fun.
It has been fun.
I think I'm going to kind of add a vote to your name on the Who's the Best Miller list today. So we'll scratch off one from Christian and add
Definitely.
one to Andrew. And so for today, anyways, and you heard it first on the podcast, this is the best Miller. So Andrew, thanks for these words. Proud of you. Thankful for what God's doing in your life and excited for the days ahead as you continue to seek after the Lord. And we want to say thank you all for watching or listening to the podcast today, and encourage you as well to like and subscribe and share the podcast so that other people can experience it and be encouraged to live their life for the glory of God right now.